Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Mastering Wide Distribution, Sell More Audiobooks Everywhere, which is hosted by Authors Republic. I'm Lindsay Senior, and I lead marketing at Authors Republic. Today, I'm joined by the wonderful Erin Wright. Erin is a USA Today bestselling author and founder of Wide for the Win, which is a fantastic community that helps self-published authors learn the ins and outs of selling their work to a wide network of retailers and libraries. So before I turn it over to Erin, a couple of housekeeping notes for today's webinar. Erin will give a presentation on wide distribution. Following her presentation, we will have time for a live Q&A, and we plan to get to as many of your questions as possible in the time that we have today. To submit a question, please use the Q&A feature that's built into this webinar. We'll hold all the questions until after Erin's presentation is mentioned, but please submit anything that you may have so we can get to as many questions as possible. With that, I will turn it over to Erin.
Hello, everybody. It's so good to be here. I can't believe all the people who've already shown up. This is fantastic. I love it. Makes my wide heart very happy. Like Lindsay said, I'm Erin Wright. I co-founded Wide for the Win back in 2019. I had to think about that for a second. I started writing as an indie author. I've been indie from the start. I started in 2016 and I write about sexy cowboys and firefighters all set in Idaho. So that's a bit of background about me. Oh, and I was previous to being an author. Um, I was a librarian, and I've also been a teacher. So um, yeah, I think that's about it for me in terms of that. I am super excited to talk about going wide with your audio because I feel like this is something that when I first started as an indie author, um, there was no discussion about going wide with your audiobooks. It was put your books into ACX. You would be dumb not to. That's the only place that anybody gets any audiobooks. Why would you go anywhere else? And I have really seen a huge shift in the indie author world since 2016 in terms of audiobooks. That is no longer the accepted wisdom. And that's a big step forward, honestly, because eh, there there are some pretty big negatives about going to exclusive to ACX, and people have realized that, which is fantastic because that isn't always, I feel like there's some pretty big negatives about being exclusive with your ebooks also. And not everybody has realized that. So at least we're making it the default position with audio is to go wide. I I feel like that's the default position now in the audiobook world is you go wide. Like it's unusual to be exclusive to ACX, because honestly, ACX has not been a great partner. And so um, let's discuss before we get any further. Let's discuss some terms that there are there's some confusion about in the indie author world. First off, if someone says I am wide, they are meaning they are wide with their ebooks, which means that they have their ebooks published across all of the platforms, not just on Amazon. If someone is wide with their audiobooks, then they are saying, I am wide with my audiobooks. I am wide with my print books. But if someone just says, I am wide, they are referring to ebooks. One of the big questions that I get quite often is if I am exclusive with my ebooks, meaning that they are only published on Amazon in Kindle Unlimited, can I go wide with my print books or with my audiobooks? And the answer is absolutely yes. Um, Amazon, it's easiest to think about them as being in silos, right? So you have ebooks, you have audiobooks, you have print books, and repeat those silos for other languages, right? So if you have your books in German, then those are completely separate silos. You will have German ebooks, uh, English ebooks, German audiobooks, English audiobooks, right? So they don't interact with each other in terms of the agreements that you are making with a storefront. So you can have your ebook exclusive to KU, to Amazon, and then you can have your audiobooks wide and your print books wide. That is 0% problem, um, other than you should be wide with your ebooks also. So just saying. I'm the co-founder of Wide for the Win. I got to put that in there somewhere. But today we are focused on audiobooks, obviously. But I wanted to just make that part clear because that's probably one of the top questions that I get is do I have to be the same across formats? No, you do not. They have nothing to do with each other. Okay, so once we are looking at the audiobook world, then only audiobook, uh, how do you make the decision of whether you should be wide or you should be exclusive to Amazon? Um, I know I just said that the default is to be wide. Um, but there are people who still do choose to be exclusive with Amazon. Um, there are a lot of negatives that come from that. And honestly, not that big of positives. And I think that's why Amazon is losing this battle so much. Basically, when you are exclusive, you get a little bit higher royalty rate, and you get some extra promotional um, things that you could be included in. Um, when you are wide with your audiobooks, then you can be in libraries, you can be on retail stores, you can sell your books on your own site. You've got all the control in the world. Whereas when you're exclusive to Amazon, um, you you can't control really how much it costs. They say now that you can put in your price, but they can still choose whatever they want it to be. They can accept a whole bunch of returns, right? Audible Gate. Anybody remember that? I wasn't that long ago when all the returns all hit at the same time and everybody discovered all at once how many returns Amazon was or Audible was allowing. Previous to that, they were doing a really good job of hiding it. And they're just honestly not a great partner. I think it's about the long and short of it. So putting your book um, wide allows you to reach such a bigger audience than you would just being in ACX. Um, for those of you who aren't like super familiar, I guess I should probably clarify also that ACX is the backend that you upload your books to. So that's like the KDP dashboard or Barnes& and Noble Press. It is the dashboard that you go to and you put your books into. That is not what listeners or readers see. They see the front end. So they see Amazon, they see barnesandnoble.com, they see audiobook.com. They don't see the back end, the dashboard. So ACX is the dashboard. Audible is the audiobook arm of Amazon. So when you upload to ACX, Your books go to audible.com, they go to amazon.com, and they go to Apple Books, funnily enough. So they Apple Books, they made an agreement many, many moons ago. And so when we say your book is exclusive to Amazon, that's not technically true with your audiobooks. They do also go to Apple. So but in terms of the terms themselves, ACX is the dashboard that the authors use. Audible is where the sales are happening. For the majority of the time, you can get some sales through Amazon.com. It's not as common. Um, and then there's Apple Books. So that kind of helps, I hope, in terms of what I sometimes I use ACX and Audible interchangeably, and it's not actually true. So I should stop doing that. Okay. So now that we have some of the basics in place, I I wanted to talk about what wide means beyond just now you get to put your books onto other platforms. So specifically for me as a previous librarian, um, ac- accessibility is probably my number one um, concern that I focus on as an author is making sure that my books are accessible by anybody, no matter how they choose to get their reading material. And so for me, that means putting my books into ebook. It means putting my books into print, regular print and large print. It means putting my books into audio and distributing them as wide as possible, so that no matter how somebody chooses to consume a book by me, that option is available to them. Um, when you go exclusive, then you are cutting off a huge swath of readers who don't choose to read or listen to their books in that way. So this becomes really apparent when I do book signings, which I tend to do a lot of. I travel around the US and do book signings and author presentations and such. And so I do a lot of book signings. And one of the first questions that I ask is, where do you get your insert word here? Where do you get your ebooks from? Where do you get your audiobooks from? Where do you get your print books from? Right. Um, and whatever their answer is, I can then say to them that you can get my books there. So from my local library, from the bookstore down the street, from Audible. I don't care what their answer is. I just want to know what it is so that I can then tell them that's where my books are available. That kind of availability makes you so much more accessible than telling somebody, well, you have to download this special program that you don't otherwise use so that you can get access to my books. People aren't going to do it. They're just not. And so um, by putting your books into libraries and by putting your ebooks and audiobooks and print books into libraries, then you are helping support the library world, which could definitely use some support right now. By putting those three variations, ebook, audiobook, and print, wide, you are also helping support the indie bookstores, right? So a lot of people think of indie bookstores as, your bookstore down the street, and they have print books, and that's all. Um, mhm. They also can sign up for Libro FM, which you absolutely can get to through Authors Republic as an author. But a bookstore will sign up for Libro FM. And what that means is that I, as a user, can go to Libro FM, sign up for an account there, and I can buy my audiobooks through Libro FM. When that happens, I choose which bookstore I want to support with my audiobook purchases. And so I can say, I love this bookstore so much. I want all of my audiobook purchases to support it. And you choose, you search, you find it, and you say, this is the audiobook or this is the bookstore that I want to support. And from there forward, it just automatically goes to them. Um, so you can support indie bookstores with your audiobooks, both by distributing your books to them and by buying your books from them as a user. So there's a lot of really fantastic benefits of like voting with your actions, right? Many people don't love how Amazon is such a dominant player in the indie book world. Um, but you can vote with your actions by making your books available not just on Amazon. Because when you do that, whether you say that you're a fan of Amazon or not, you are supporting Amazon. So just by making your books wide and available across all the platforms, you are helping support a more healthy ecosystem. And that is really important for us indie authors, I feel like. Okay, so let me pop back here. I have some notes so I don't forget what it is that I was going to be talking about. So there is a URL I'm going to show to y'all so that you can see, share. Okay, so this is an Authors Republic, and they do have their distribution options listed out here. So I just wanted to show this to you guys because, okay, Audible, Amazon, you'll notice Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. So Apple up here. And then we have our music streams. So if you would like to be in the music ones, but preferred sales channel. If you were exclusive to Amazon, if you're exclusive to Audible with your audiobooks, all of these you would not be able to access, which is a huge chunk. That is crazy sauce to me. To be saying no to all of these other options. So, for those of you who aren't former librarians, I'll just name off really quickly which one of these are libraries specifically. Hoopla is, Overdrive is, there's Libro FM. You should go support Libro FM. I love them. And if you are looking to support indie bookstores, let's see what else is a library. Baker and Taylor is a library. Biblioteca is a library. Adillo is a library. So they sort of have it all mixed in here when you're looking at this. But I just wanted you to know, like, you don't have to do anything special or extra to get into libraries. When you're uploading to Authors Republic, you are going to be in libraries automatically unless you choose otherwise. And you can email them if you are like, hey, I don't want to be in a specific channel for whatever reason. You can email them and ask them to take you out of that channel. But um, as you could probably guess, I am very much a fan of being as many places as possible so that you can be wherever your readers are at. And I think that's the most important part. Um, the I will drop the link for this in the chat section, and hopefully they will include also in the follow-up email or links to this. But I wanted to show this to you real quick. I closed out of it. Why did I do that? Whoops, calculator. Um, Give me just a second. There we are. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to drop this into Zoom real quick in the chat section. Okay, so this is my website, erinwright.net/audiobook hyphen calculator. Um, what I love about this is I created it for authors to be able to use to figure out whether or not you should even create an audiobook based on where you are at in your career. So let's walk through this really quickly. So you've decided, I'm assuming you've decided that you are going to um, go wide with your audiobooks, which is fantastic. Good choice. Gold star in your forehead. Okay. Now, um, let's discuss, should you even be creating audiobooks right now? Um, and I will show you, walk you through this really quick. Okay. So, um, step one down here is you need to figure out how much will it cost to make an audiobook. Okay. There is a formula. You can put it right here, or you can see the formula right here. Or you can just use the calculator. So let's see, let's say that you want to create an audiobook. Your book is without including front or back matter. Okay, this is just the audiobook, the words themselves of the book itself. It's 65,000. Okay. So that's our word count. And then our narrator hourly cost. Um, you maybe aren't sure how much it costs. I do have down here. If you haven't priced narrators before, here is the per finished hour, PFH, per finished hour rate. And then it kind of gives you some idea of what to put in, right? So let's put in 250 since that's the bare minimum of the SAG-AFTRA union. So our word count is $65,250 per finished hour. Look, it automatically calculated that right there. It would cost you roughly $17.50 to create this audiobook. Um, I love how you can just sit here and play with this, right? Like, okay, all right, well, so let's put in 225. Maybe I can find somebody who's a little bit cheaper. Oh, look, it's 1575 now, right? This is obviously just an estimate, but this is a game of horseshoes. It's just close enough is good enough. This is useful for that for um the ability for you to make a decision of whether audio is even something you should be getting into in terms of human narration. Okay, so, and I go into this below. So step two, the audiobook calculator tells you how much an audiobook will cost, but not if it's a good idea for you to be pursuing right now. So just because you know how much it costs, and just because you happen to have that money, let's say that you have savings, let's say that you have a day job, let's say that you got an inheritance, right? And you're like, hey, I have $2,500, I have $2,700, I can make this audiobook. Great. Yes, but should you be creating that audiobook? Um, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Um, I have a formula or a calculation that I strongly suggest that you do, and it's on that same page. So you don't have to memorize this or take any notes. You can go back to that page afterwards and you can go through everything. But basically, what it is you're going to take your, let's say that you are releasing a new ebook. Okay. So you have a book release that is going live on September 1st. I want you to take the amount of money that you bring in from the release of your ebook for the first 30 days. So, including September 1st, the day that all of your pre orders hit the system, okay, all the way through to September 30th. And I'm wanting you to calculate how much are you making from the sale of that ebook. I don't want you to take into consideration print. I don't want you to take into consideration how much it cost for you to create that ebook, right? So you have a really beautiful cover or you have editing. None of that matters. All right. This is just to give you the idea of should you even be in the audiobook world to begin with. Okay, so you're going to take the first 30 days of the sales of that ebook and you're going to add it all together. Could you take that amount, turn around, and give it to a narrator and say, go make my audiobook, and be able to pay that bill in full? So let's say that you release a book on September 1st, all the pre orders hit the system. By September 30th, you've made $1,500 from the sale of that ebook by itself in those first 30 days. If your audiobook costs $1,700 and you made $1,500 in the first month, you're close enough is good enough. This really is a game of horseshoes, y'all. If in the first month you calculate and you add it all up and you've made $300, you should not be doing audiobooks. You just shouldn't. I've had so many people that I've done consultations with who are like, well, I wanted to do audiobook because then I could be making extra money every month. Yes, but if you pay $1,700 so that you can make an extra $50 a month, there's a lot better and easier ways to make an extra $50 a month. I promise you. This is not a good use of your resources. You should be using that $1,700 to get a bookbub, to get a fancy new website, to I don't know, whatever it is. There's a million different ways you could spend $1,700 in the author world. But an audiobook should not be on that list. Um, I've had people who have done the audiobook right out of the gate. They're brand new authors and they want to present to the world a polished professional look. So they're going to release at the same time their ebook, their audiobook, their print book. They're going to get they're going to get trade reviews. They're going to do all these different things, and they're going to do this big splash, and they're going to look like they're traditionally published, and they're going to be amazing. And I very much appreciate and understand the enthusiasm. However, um, the truth of the matter is, your first book, almost guaranteed, will be your weakest book. You will get better as you release more books. And in fact, if you aren't getting better as you release more books, something has gone tragically wrong. And many times, many authors will go back and rewrite some of their earlier books. Okay. I've rewritten, let's see, I rewrote Accounting for Love. I rewrote Christmas of Love. I rewrote Overdue for Love. And then I have done some pretty major edits to every other book I've ever released. Um, I get better as I go along, and I want to have that reflected in my previous books. If I had had the money when I first started publishing, I absolutely would have done an audiobook right out of the gate. I wanted to. I'm an audiophile. Everything I do, I listen to audio. That's my primary way of consuming books. And so I wanted my books to be in audio. Luckily for me, this is a funny statement, but luckily for me, I was too damn broke to make it happen. So I didn't. I wasn't able to. And I was able to save myself from myself because that would have been a complete waste of money because I completely rewrote Accounting for Love, which was my first book. I took it down and rewrote the whole thing. Probably only about 25% of it actually stayed. 75% of it was brand new wordies. So yeah, same thing, by the way. This is not what we're talking about today, but just FYI, you can use that same calculator in these same steps to calculate whether or not you should be doing translations because they cost roughly the same amount, depending on how much you're being charged per word. And they have roughly the same payback period. So I get questions quite often, which one should I do first, audio or translations? And my suggestion always is lean into your strengths and your own interests. Do you speak another language? you should probably do translations first in that language. Not that you have to translate the book, but you can at least proofread and check to see and make sure the person you're hiring does speak that language also, because you know sometimes people like to lie. So, but do you speak another language? Do you love audiobooks? These are the kinds of things like which one should you do first is really more up to you. I feel like they're uh, pretty even in terms of usefulness. Um, anyway, so um, don't do audiobooks too early in your career. Make sure that your career can actually justify the cost of those audiobooks. And you will be a much happier camper than paying $2,500 to do an audiobook, realizing that your book has some pretty major issues with it, needs to be pulled down, it needs to be rewritten, and then that audiobook that you paid $2,500 for literally is just trashed, and you have to start all over again. I cannot tell you the number of authors who I've talked to who have been through that exact process, and it is heartbreaking because they're like, "But I paid all this money." Yeah, I know, and it's not doing you any good, and it won't do you any good. Um, so there's that calculator. Um, one last thing I wanted to talk through, and then I will get into the Q&A and the chat, and I can see all sorts of things coming in. Um, and that is promoting of the audiobooks. And I just wanted to show you, or kind of talk through how to promote audiobooks. Um, this is one of the bigger questions that I get. And promoting of audiobooks is a tougher thing to do because the platforms don't necessarily give you the ability to price and have full say over those prices like you can ebooks, right? So if I want my ebook to be on sale for 199, I go in and I tell the platform I want my book to be 199. It changes to 199. It's 199. That's all, folks. That's as hard as it gets. With audiobooks, each of the platforms will charge kind of whatever price they want to charge. It's just part of the audiobook industry. There is no saying like my audiobook will be this amount from this date to this date. The storefronts can say, hmm, that's cute. That's nice. Yeah. No, we're not doing that. I had this brilliant idea a couple of summers ago that I was going to put my ebook and my audiobook versions of my box sets on sale. And so because I have three box sets and you should kind of be reading them in order. And so I was going to put the first box set at this price, and then I was going to put the second box set at this price, and the third box set at this price. And I was going to do it both ebook and audiobook. And I beat my head against a wall trying to get the storefronts to accept my pricing and to put my pricing into place, and never was successful. I actually got on a Zoom call with an Apple Books rep because I have a lot of ties in the industry, and I got onto a Zoom call with an Apple Books rep, and I was like, "Dude, why do you guys refuse to put my price at the price that I put into the system?" And the rep came back with, "Our system thinks that you should be selling it at this amount instead." I was like, "But I want my audiobook to be this price because I'm gonna tell my newsletter subscribers, go to these storefronts and get it for this price. It'll be great." And the audiobook rep is like, "That's nice." Would not change, would not change. If I cannot make it happen, I don't mean to make it like I have ties, y'all. I have ties in the industry and I could not make that happen. I promise you cannot either. So how do you promote audiobooks then? Because you can't really promote based on I'm going to put my book on sale at this price across all the platforms and do a big push. That's not possible. So how do you do it? Um, what I like to do is when a promotion platform gives me the ability to add in audio as extra links, then I take them up on that opportunity. And what I mean by that is that I total random side note, but I own a company called Full Hearts Romance, and it's a paid newsletter. It's like it's like BookBub, BookBub's tiny baby sister who's this big compared to BookBub, right? Like it's much smaller, obviously much smaller than BookBub. But it's the same idea. It's a paid newsletter. I wanted to show this to you guys because this is probably my primary way of promoting audiobooks other than in-house promotions. And I'll show that to you guys in just a second. But here we go. So, book promotion, and this is Full Hearts Romance. And so, if you were promoting an ebook, then you go in here and you put in the information, and there's a book description, and there's all the tags, and here's it's romance, so you know how hot is it. And then you can say, hey, this is an audiobook. And when I check mark that down here, this will slide down a little bit and it will become audiobook links. And we do have this note in here. Audiobooks do not need to be discounted in order to be included, only the ebook version does. And so then once you check mark that you have audiobook links, then you can look, you can put in your audiobook link to all sorts of places, including your own author store. Um, if do you have your audiobook on YouTube? You can put it there. So what ends up happening is somebody is looking at the promotional email from Full Hearts or whatever. This is offered by a lot of different paid newsletter promotion sites. And hey, there's it's available as an audiobook too. Cool, cool. I'm going to go check that out because there are a lot of people who switch between the two. I know that I said that I primarily listen and ingest books via audio. That actually depends for me on what kind of a book it is. So there are kinds of nonfiction books I prefer to have as a print book. Um, um, Romance books that I just like to listen to, or excuse me, romance books I just like to read, I like to do as an ebook. And then biographies and such, I like to listen to because yeah, I like those as a something to listen to. So I personally switch between all of them. And I know that I'm not the only reader out there who does that. And so by putting your audiobook in there and being like, hey, it's also available as an audio, you're going to see, along with an increase of your ebook sales, you're going to see a smaller increase of your audiobook sales. Typically, the more ebooks you're selling, the more audiobooks you're selling. They really do go hand in hand in most circumstances. So that's the one of the main ways that I promote my audio. The other main way that I promote my audio is through store in-house promotions. Um, because you cannot make an audio book the same price across all the platforms, no matter how much you may want to. In-house promotions, you can put it on sale on just one platform and you don't have to make it that same price everywhere else. So this is a huge difference between ebook and audiobook. With ebook, you are actually agreeing as part of the sign up process that your ebook will be the same price across all other platforms. Like you will have it be the same price everywhere. It's part of the TOS of every major platform out there. Amazon, Apple, Kobo, everybody requires that your book be the same price on their platform as opposed to everywhere else. So with audio, It's the exact opposite. Not only are you not required to have it be the same price, you can't have it be the same price. So there is zero expectation that if you put it on sale on one platform, that you'll put it on sale on another platform. So for that reason, it can be actually quite easy to do in-house promotions because you don't have to do the price matching and match it on all the other platforms like you do with ebooks. So with audio, you will want to apply and hopefully be accepted for the um, in-store promotions. And so let me show that to you. Let me bring that up here. So I'm here on my dashboard. Share. Okay. So marketing tools here on the left-hand side. And then so you can have promo codes, you can give that away to your ARC team. Promotional opportunities is in-house promotions. Okay. Um, it's same thing. Tomato, tomato. And then chirp deals. So chirp is it's obviously its own platform that has it's in-house promotions 24/7, 365. So that's why it's its own thing over here. But promotional opportunities. So let me get in here. So when you scroll down, you can see, hey, look at this. You could actually promote your book on Amazon, which is kind of cool. We have some for Apple, we have some for Hoopla, we have some for Kobo, we have some for Overdrive. So if your book met any of these criteria, you could, like, let's say that you were a Kiwi author, then you could submit your book and you would check mark, submit or select the title and then click submit. And it's just that easy to be included in the in-house promotions part of things. Those two things are probably the easiest ways to promote your audiobooks. And then there's also things like if you're selling it off your own site, then you have even more control over things and whatever, but that's kind of off to the side. Okay. Um, I don't know if that was everything everybody was hoping for, but I am happy to take questions and answer and tell you guys all the things that I know in my wee little brain.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erin. And while you were presenting, we did get several questions. It definitely sparked some ideas and thoughts throughout. So one question is, what are your thoughts about going exclusive for 90 days with Audible or ACX and then going wide?
So the 90 days thing is more of an ebook thing because that's how long Kindle Unlimited um has you sign up for to belong to the Kindle Unlimited program is they do 90 days at a time. Um, I don't know that that's necessarily what they do with their audiobooks. Um, I obviously am almost allergic to being exclusive. It causes me to break out into an exclusive rash. No, but it's just, it's not something that I obviously would promote. I If you really wanted to, I might be well, sure. But to be honest with you, you're missing out on a nice chunk of visibility. One of the best things that you can do for audiobook sales, I'm going to backtrack for just a second, but I promise this all comes together. One of the best things you can do for audiobook sales is do a simultaneous release between your ebook and your audiobook. Release them at the same time. That new release boost that you get really increases your audiobook sales versus releasing your audiobooks later on. Um, Obviously if you are going back and you're backfilling, right, and you're putting your audiobooks out there now that you've built up your career enough to justify the cost of them, that's one thing. But going forward, it makes sense to release your ebook and your audiobook at the same time because you will have more sales overall from doing that versus releasing your audiobook a couple of months later. If you are releasing exclusively to Amazon, then you're really negating that punch, that increase in visibility because it is a new release. Because when you finally do go wide with it, the ebook is no longer new. And so you are going to be hurting your visibility um, of your audiobook for that reason. So I strongly suggest releasing your audiobook and your ebook at the same time and releasing them wide out of the gate, and you will make the most money from doing that financially. That's the better option.
Thank you. Another question that came in is, do you recommend that authors narrate their own book?
Um, I feel like the word recommend is a bit strong. I have seen it where it makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, but you I have seen a lot more cases where an author spent a lot of time going in circles trying to narrate their own books and never actually getting it done and wasting a lot of time going down that rabbit hole. And the reason why it doesn't necessarily work out a lot of times is because you really do have to have a super high quality narration booth that you can set up that does not allow any sounds in. So far off sounds that you have long ago learned to tune out, if they show up in your audiobook, it's not the system isn't going to allow you to even upload it, right? The audiobook has to have a certain quality to it, and it's very difficult to create a room with enough padding to be able to block out and have that high quality sound. Um, there's that. There's also the quality of your voice, right? Is it actually a voice that somebody wants to listen to for hours at a time? That can be not always true. And then also accents, right? So if you write characters who have different accents, what is your capability of conveying those accents? So I'm thinking, I'm thinking, I cannot think off the top of my head of a single author who has done all of their audiobooks themselves and is happy about it.
Wow. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And one note that we see on the distribution aggregator side frequently is if somebody tries to narrate their audiobook and gets stuck in sort of that cycle that you had referenced and then ends up not meeting the specs. Audiobooks have very specific specs, especially when you're going wide. The different retailers and libraries might have slight variations. So as an aggregator, we have the highest quality, specs, making sure that you'll be accepted everywhere. We have those on our website, but I'd suggest if you are going to self narrate your audiobook to be very familiar with the specs as well.
Yes. And so it's not just learning how to narrate your own book, not just setting up a booth that you can do all the narration in, but also then having to figure out the technical side of things where you have to master and compile and they have to be up to certain things. It is a completely different skill set. And unless you are already into it because let's say that you get into this from you've narrated other people's books or you are really into podcasts and things like that, and then you just think, well, I could write my own book, right? You could be coming at this industry from that perspective. um, Unless that is already true, taking the time away from writing new books so that you can narrate your own books is not usually a good use of your time. You will make more money if you just keep writing new books, build up your career to the point that you can pay someone else to narrate your books for you. It's like people who try to make their own covers. Um, they spend tons and tons of time learning, Photoshop and learning how to manipulate and do all of this stuff when they could just be writing another book.
Mhm.
And honestly, you will make more money from that and hiring a good quality cover designer versus trying to learn how to do everything yourself. Um, and so then though you're like, well, then I can't do an audiobook right away because I don't have the money to hire somebody. Exactly. You shouldn't be doing an audiobook anyway. Even if even if you did have the money. It's back to what I was saying in the beginning, right? Um, you shouldn't be narrating your own audiobooks and using that as like a bypass versus having to pay somebody else. If your career it doesn't make the money to justify audiobooks, paying somebody else to do the audiobooks, it doesn't justify the time that it will take you to do your audiobooks either. You're still not going to be making money. If
Right.
that makes sense. I hope I said that correctly clearly. Okay.
That makes sense. The next question is about promotional copies. I think there's two parts. One is can you tell us how to get promotional copies? And for that, if you're an Authors Republic user, you can get audio promotional copies of your book by going into your account, going to the marketing tab, and there's a promo code section where you can request promo codes from Spotify, excuse me, or audiobooks.com. But the second part of this question is, what are your thoughts on how to use promotional copies? And Erin, I'll pass that piece to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So typically the probably the number one thing that I would say is utilize your own um author newsletter list first. So send out an email to your newsletter list and say, I have promo codes that I would like to give away. It's going to be available on audiobooks.com or it's going to be available on Spotify. Please, respond back if you would like a promo code. I would ask that you leave a review afterwards and as part of this, so you can't require that they leave a review, but you can not give them a review in the future, or excuse me, you can not give them an arc copy in the future, right? So and the same thing is true of ebooks. You can't require that they leave you a review, but you can choose to not include them in your on your arc team going forward. Anyway, so getting reviews is incredibly important in terms of having people take a chance on you, right? They see lots of good reviews, they're more willing to take chances. So giving away the promo codes for reviews is really useful. Also, you can give them away as prizes for contests or celebrations, or like, hey, I'll be coming up on this next year. Oh, I will have been an author for 10 years next year. Woo! Okay, sure. That
Congratulations.
just hit me because I started in 2016. Okay, I should come up with something. It'll be a year, August, because I published my first book in August of 2016. Okay, I should come up with something super cool for August of 2026. But this would be one of those things, right? Like as a prize, you can win and you can get this promo code and you can listen to this audiobook for free. That's another fun thing. Going on to social media and doing a giveaway. You can also include, let's say that, well, hold on, let's go. Let's actually share real quick because I pulled this up, promo codes. So this kind of tells you the information about it. You must be live, delivered to you by email. Um, one request per 100 codes. Do you know, Lindsay, how long these codes are good for? Like, do
Um,
they expire?
they're I think we have a set time frame. I can verify that on I'm not sure for sure with Spotify and audiobooks.com if there is a difference in how long they're good for.
Okay. Because another idea is like if you are wanting to if you're excuse me, if you're doing in-person book signings, is like give them a free copy of the audiobook when they purchase the print book, right? Things like that. And but I don't know if you are going to print up code cards and then you could like slip it into the book and be like, you can go download this book from Spotify or from audiobook.com, just use this code. How long that code is good for. That's why I was kind of curious because maybe it's only good for a couple of weeks and then they disappear and then yeah, that would be kind of awful. But anyway, so that's
Yeah, I
another
think
idea.
they're longer than a couple of weeks. So that could still be relevant.
Yeah, yeah. But if you think about it as like a when you are at a book signing, if you're giving away a free code, cost you nothing, right? And you can say to somebody, if you buy this print book today, you get a free version of the audiobook. Like that is a great upsell that costs you nothing, right? So I personally think that's a great way to use the promo codes.
Yes. Yeah. And there was another question that came in during this about can you only use them on audiobooks.com or Spotify? Um, and for that, that is what our platform, we have the promo codes for those too. But that doesn't mean that the reviews are also limited to just those two. There are plenty of sites where you don't necessarily have had to download the audiobook from them and you could still leave a review. So if you're looking for reviews, that is still an option, but at the end you can still use a promo code which gives a free copy for someone to listen to. I don't think it matters necessarily which platform they listen to, they still get the same audiobook. uh,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that, like Audible won't allow you to review it if you didn't download it from them, right? But there are lots of sites that do. So, Barnes and Noble, Kobo, you Google Play, you don't have to have downloaded the audiobook from them in order to leave a review of the audiobook. So they can leave reviews on, like Lindsay was saying, bunches of different sites, even if they didn't listen to it on that site.
Right. So another question is, are Kickstarter campaigns effective for marketing audiobooks? Are they better as stretch goals?
Kickstarter is not a platform for audio, unfortunately. I have heard that from audiobook reps. I have heard that from people who make tons of money off of Kickstarter. For whatever reason, the Kickstarter community loves themselves super cool print books. That's their thing. Anytime that you go outside of that, you'll have some people who are like, oh, all right, that's cool. You know, maybe I'll get that or whatever. But that is not what they are like there for. The one exception I would say to that is like author books, how to make money as an indie author, right? Like that kind of a book. Probably the author community would be willing to help pay for the audiobook version of that as one of the goals. But if you as an author are creating a fiction like fantasy book, and you're like, "Ooh, I'm gonna have a Kickstarter help me pay the cost for the cost of this." I guess put it as a stretch goal. Sure, why not? Um, but a stretch goal, you don't get anything extra for that, right? That um you eh, you have to be able to pay for it out of the money that you're getting from Kickstarter. And nobody really is going to pay extra um for that particular not price, what is it? Item. They're just not. It's not what Kickstarter users are there for,
Thank you.
unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard the same thing. Everything that you've heard is what I've heard as well. So
Yeah.
Uh, we have time for a couple more questions. There's some questions about Amazon that have come up, which is no surprise. Somebody asked, I chose Authors Republic over Amazon a long time ago. What can I do now to maximize sales?
Um,
I guess that they already are wide. Is there anything new or something else that they should be looking at to maximize sales beyond being wide?
um, yeah, so I guess basically what I was saying before, paid newsletters, adding in the audiobook links when you are booking a promotion for your ebooks, making sure that you mention audiobooks to your subscribers. They may have signed up for ebooks, but may be willing to um, uh, download audiobooks also. The majority of your newsletter subscribers for your own author newsletter are going to be there for ebooks. But there may be some readers who are like, hey, I'm kind of impartial, right? I'll go either way. And that's super cool that you have audiobooks available. I'm going to go check it out. So being sure that you are talking about it on your newsletter is useful. Um, and then doing the in-house promotions for the various platforms is useful. There is a promotion that is through written word media called Audible Thicket or Audio Thicket or something like that. Um, it's too bad this is being recorded because I'm about to tell, like, say not nice things, but it's not that it's not nice. It's just the truth. It doesn't move. It's not worth the cost. It does not move the audiobooks, and don't do it, in my humble opinion. Can I get sued for my opinion? I can't get sued for that, right? I don't think they're really nice. I love written word media. They would never sue me anyway. They're very nice people there. I'm just telling you the truth, y'all. The Audio Thicket or Audible Thicket or whatever it's called. Don't do it. It's definitely not worth the cost. Um, and it all goes back to that idea that you cannot set your own price for audiobooks. So when you do an audio newsletter only, people who are signing up for that newsletter are going to be unhappy because they are going to think that they should be getting books that are on discount like they do with their ebooks, right? So they're going to sign up for one that is an audio and they're like, woo, now I'm going to find all the audiobooks that are on sale. Except for you cannot put your audiobooks on sale, not in any sort of like um uh not in any way that works very well. And so then readers are going to be clicking and they're going to be finding full price audiobooks and they're going to be unhappy. And so it just doesn't work well. So it works much better when it is a side thing, like I'm promoting my ebook and hey, I also have audiobooks available. Here's a link for that. Rather than here is a promotion specifically for audiobooks.
Right.
Unfortunately, it just is
Yeah.
the way it is.
No, thank you. And I think with that, I know we're a bit over time, but before we wrap up, I wanted to give you, Erin, the opportunity to just remind everyone where they can find you if they'd like to reach out to you for consulting services or the paid newsletter, or even to learn more about Wide for the Win.
Oh, sure. So if you go to my website, erinwright.net, it is not .com, it is .net. If you go to erinwright.net, there is across the top the menu bar, and there is an option to click on authors, and that is all of my authoring sort of stuff. The rest of my website is all about like buy my books. You want to read about sexy cowboys, which not saying you don't want to do that, obviously, but if you are interested in my author, go to erinwright.net/authors with an S at the end. In there you'll find the links to my consultations, to classes that I've taught, all sorts of really great information in there. If you want to join us in the Wide for the Win community, which we would love to have you do, you just need to go to wideforthewin.com. That is .com, it is not .net. But go to a wideforthewin.com and sign up for a free account. And you can go in there and you can talk to other widelings and get a better idea of how to succeed as a wide author.
Wonderful. And as always, I always enjoy talking with you and hearing your perspective on the industry. So thank you so much for joining us. If we did not get to your question today, we will try to reach out to you or pass them to Erin to answer any that we couldn't get to. Thank you so much for all the wonderful questions. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of them.
Yeah, and I do have a contact form. So if you go to erinwright.net and then click on contact, you can send me an email and I will do my best to respond to those too.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.